Welcome to another episode of Hot Mess Espresso. Let's get into this week. At 28, Dan was leading a healthy, active life. After an optometrist appointment to identify the cause of his persistent headaches was cut short, he was handed a sealed envelope and told to go directly to the hospital. What followed was emergency brain surgery. On June 21st, 2014, Dan's reality was shattered by a devastating brain hemorrhage. With no map to guide him on the grueling path to recovery, Dan had to rely on his grit, perseverance, and resilience to relearn everything he once knew: how to walk, talk, and even smile. Dan has survived 2 emergency brain surgeries, weeks in a coma, and months in a rehab hospital. What he found out along the way might surprise you. There's nothing like a brain injury to refocus the mind. Driven by a positive mindset, Dan battled through excruciating rehab exercises to rebuild his life and return to a job he loved. He's grateful for the doctors who saved him and the friends and family who supported him, but now he wants to pay it forward. The tools Dan used to build back his life can be used by anyone facing challenges. He'll reveal strategies to help all of us be better than yesterday and achieve your goals one step at a time. His action-oriented life hacks will help you tackle anything you face. Through his talks, all audiences are moved and uplifted by Dan's story and ready to use his practical approaches to triumph over adversity. So join us to learn how changing your perspective can activate your resilience. What's up, Dan?
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. So that was kind of a mouthful of an introduction, but are there any gaps you kind of want to fill in? Because obviously that wasn't your entire history.
Yeah, so you got the main points there, broad strokes, but just to kind of level set with your audience, so in the tube one day, going to Notting Hill, and my vision slowly faded to black. Like I couldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we went to the platform, and after 3 minutes, my vision came back. But I was on that platform thinking, what the hell do I do now?
Right?
I had been in A&E the day before after some persistent headaches weren't resolved. They told me it was vertigo and they sent me home. This happened, and I went back to A&E the next day. Again, they thought it was vertigo and they sent me home, but they told me if the headaches were to continue, I could always get my eyes checked in an optometrist. So it was midway through the exam, the optometrist, Mr. Patel, he stopped the exam midway through the exam. He stopped it.
Mm-hmm.
He handed me a sealed envelope and he told me to go directly to Moorfields Hospital, which I did. Well, Heather, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Child and a bite to eat and a phone charger.
Well, I mean, it's not like they said it was serious.
Exactly. They gave me a sealed envelope. How am I supposed to know this, right?
Right.
So ended up going to Moorfields Hospital. They escalated me up to Charing Cross. Turns out I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a non-cancerous system I had. Turns out I required emergency brain surgery tomorrow. Turns out my world changed overnight.
Yeah, I would say.
So on June 21st, 2014, mom was on the operating table. I was on the operating table. Mom was flying to London and a massive bleed in the brain, a brain hemorrhage. They think the cyst burst when they operated. So my mom lands and finds I'm in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks, but was in and out of consciousness for months after this. Things were dicey, touch and go. When all was said and done, I was able to walk, talk, and even smile again. So, needless to say, this kind of escalated me pretty quick, and we were off to the races pretty fast.
No kidding. No kidding. Just enjoy the sound of my cat meow. It's always chaotic here. So, how was your general mental health before your brain hemorrhage? And I mean, obviously it was altered after, but how exactly was it altered after?
Mental health was good. Before this happened, I was a healthy and active 20-year-old guy living and working in London. Like, big nights out, always going out, worked in tech, so, get paid nothing, got some stock options and a whole bunch of free beer, and, here, go loose on London. Like, it was wild times.
Sounds like a good time.
It was a great time. We played drinking Jenga, like just having great times in the bar. Like he goes the free beer in the house in the office, and just having a good old time, scraping by. You get paid once in London, right? So like not every other week, which you do in Canada, and I'm guessing the same in the States as well. But
Yep.
like, so you blow that paycheck, and then you're eating literally beans and toast for the rest of the month after you blow that midway through the month. So it was like a learning experience on many fronts.
Yeah.
But before this happened, I was a healthy and active guy, 20-year-old, living and working in London. And like, nothing was going wrong for me. Everything was going right. And then this happened out of left field, out of nowhere. And it floored me.
Yeah, I would say. So how are things kind of altered after the fact?
Well, when I woke up after a coma and 4 weeks on, my mom, dad, and brother were around the bed. And I'm trying to talk to them, but I can't talk because my vocal cords have been chewed up from the breathing tube and the tracheotomy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go, get me a pen and paper, I said. Well, I gestured.
Right.
And they got me a pen and paper and I wrote down, get me out of here. And showed it to my brother. And pointed at him like, yo, bud, this is on you. Get me out of here. I'm in a foreign country. I'm like, this looks expensive. I was like, let's get the hell out of Dodge. And needless to say, he did not oblige me on that. And I was in the hospital for months after this. But it was like a pretty stark awakening to what had happened and being told over a few weeks, like, look, Dan, you had a brain hemorrhage. You can't walk. You can't talk. Your life as you knew it was over in an instant. So, like, it was a real abrasive adjustment for me to get over this off the hop, if I'm honest with you, Heather.
Yeah, that would be a gut punch. Quite the gut punch.
Yeah, it was a gut, face, and balls punch. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I I would absolutely say. But I know that you talk about how a positive mindset helped you and that may not work for everyone. I mean, in theory it does, but what are some small but important changes people can make to help them achieve a better mindset just as a whole?
Well, you gotta remember this one stat that I heard a little while ago that's quite abrasive and quietly in your face. I'll read it out to your group.
Mhm.
The odds of you being a human being, having a life in the first place, are 400 trillion to 1. Means you're more likely to win the lottery like a million times than you are to have a life in the first place.
Hmm.
This this DNA chip was in my genome. Like there's nothing I could have done to mitigate this. It happened.
Mhm.
This card came up, but I was given a set of cards, so I'm not going to muck the whole hand because of this. I'm going to crack on and carry on with this. Right? It's like I made my choice up pretty early in the hospital. Like, look, this didn't kill you. It's not good the brain injury happened, but like right now, it's what you think about it that matters. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. It's not that's not my line. That's Epictetus, this epic Stoic philosopher.
Mhm.
But it was a mental game more than a physical game at this stage. And like, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. And I really abided by those rules and like that mindset to get me through this difficult point.
That makes so much sense, honestly. That's I mean, I can relate because I had a very sudden life altering health issue with my spinal cord. I mean, it just was one day like problematic but fine and then all of a sudden problematic and not fine. So your mentality on it is very much my mentality on things where these are the cards you're dealt. How are you going to work with them? Kind of thing. And that doesn't
Yeah,
mean that you don't have your bad days, but you got to work with the cards that you're dealt, really.
you got to. And like, it's so like, what's a bad? Someone asked me like, what do you do when you have a bad day now? I'm like, well, what's a bad day?
Right.
And she goes, well, I don't know, like late for a meeting, someone cuts you off in traffic. It's like, well, bad day. Like, no, it's not a bad day. It's an instance. Like bad day. Like I can't say I fully remember the hospital and like the grind that was in there always and fully, but like
Mm-hmm.
there was, I was told my parents were told I may not make it, and I was in a coma for 4 weeks. When I was in a coma, they had to keep my core temperature down below 40 degrees, otherwise it'd be brain damage. So
Right.
these ice blankets above and below me to keep my core temperature down. It's like the violent shivering. My family says it's horrible to watch. Like it was difficult, arduous, grindy. To get in that wheelchair the first few times took 45 minutes, then 40, then 35, then 30. I'm grinding my way through this. I'm like grinning and bearing it to get my way up to like 30 minutes, then 25, then 20, then 15, then 7. And it was difficult, arduous, grindy stuff, but it was like, what's the alternative here, right? Like just roll over and just accept, like, I guess it's not in my cards. Like, no, like I'm not. I've
Right.
always been a bit stubborn, to be honest, Heather. Like, I've always been a bit chip on my shoulder kind of vibe, like a bit undersized. Always dated girls well outside my league, and everyone's like, "Oh, is this guy good enough to be here?" I'm like, I'm always so driven to show you that I'm good enough to be here. I'm like, yeah, I'm here, but I'm here.
Right.
And like that probably helped serve me a lot to get back up off the mat because it's like, yeah, I'm good enough to be here. And friends came over from Vancouver to see me, and like they cheered me on. And my friend Claire was like, Dan, it was always so lovely to see you because you tried so hard. And when she came down to visit me, I was in a wheelchair, and they went up to Scotland for a week or so to visit a friend. When I came back down, I was walking on the Zimmer frame. Now, that Zimmer frame is not walking, but it's like lurching forward in the hallways of the hallways of the Wolfson.
Right.
But like a big step up compared to what was the week before.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to show her that I was trying hard and I'm worthy of the praise she was giving me. Everyone was there, was cheering me on. Like, am I worthy of this praise? Like, I walked in to see the ICU nurse with a cane and an eye patch, and like, she like burst into tears because she didn't think I'd be walking again. Like, it's just like prove them wrong and use that as fuel. And that's a dangerous way to have fuel come from. Like, this is the toxic, high octane shit that's gonna get you going. But like, ride that wave, baby,
Literally.
and it takes you super far. I'm now trying to transition my motivation to less proving you wrong and more service, helping you. Your success is my success, but that high octane stuff of proving you wrong, hey, West works.
It does.
Don't judge it. Don't wait for it to be like this, uh, like okay, like holistically good place for motivation to come from. No, ride the wave that comes to you and ride that wave out.
Exactly. No, I completely agree and I can completely relate. So, but you had mentioned when we chatted before that you had a setback about a year after the initial brain hemorrhage. So, how can we talk about that and then how did that affect your initial resilience?
Yeah, so this happened a year after the first setback. So I've been working for a year to get back to the office, right? Like I had done vocational therapy, speech and language therapy, physical therapy. Like I was grinding my tail off to get back to the office 2 half days a week, 3 half days a week. I'm not doing much at the office. I'm kind of reading some emails, being in the part of the office, getting some lunch, being part of the vibe again, which is like a big part of my vibe was that job in London. Hootsuite was phenomenal for me, right?
Mhm.
I've been back to work for 2 months when one day I didn't show up for work. I'd meet up with my mom at the 2 before work to show her that like I was there and I was off to work and she went off for a walk. One day I didn't roll up and she goes, "Where are you, Dan?" She called me, no response. Came back to my flat, found me unconscious on the floor, right?
Oh my gosh.
The shunt that's in my head had blocked leading to hydrocephalus or water on the brain. So as a result, I needed emergency brain surgery, a new haircut, and a new medical alert bracelet. So I woke up in that hospital bed to hear the beeping noise of the heart rate monitor going off behind me. Beep, beep, beep. What happened? What happened? Being told, "Hey, Dan, you had a second brain surgery." What do you mean? I'm like, well, we got the blockage. I'm like, all my progress is washed away. And they go, well, we got the blockage. And I go, well, you've been working for a year to get back to the office. Like, and then you just rip this carpet underneath my legs. Like, I can't tell you how low this was. Like, I describe my recovery like a W. So the first setbacks,
Mhm.
the first dip of the W, right?
Yep.
I climbed back up maybe halfway back to up where it was at. The second setback's not where the first one was, much lower. The depths of the human experience, I called this.
Mhm.
All your hopes and dreams are kind of snickered at, and you're like, hey, man, you thought you had a chance there, but almost out of the woods there, weren't you? Ha, ha, ha. It's just so grimy and low, and everything is just like, oh, you thought you had a chance there, bud. Like, it's just like, this shook me to my core and took me everything to keep myself from going down the pity spiral. And the pity spiral is the woe's me, this isn't fair vibe.
Mhm.
But you can't recover from that pity spiral. That's like forever. That's for life. That's like you're like woe's me, jaded kind of vibe. Aw shucks, Eeyore kind of stuff for the rest of your life. And like that's not a place you want to go. And I'm not sure if you can recover if you go down that pathway fully. But like I was teetering on this like this isn't fair vibe, and then I realized, you know what? I knew how to do this. All my progress was washed away, but the mentality of doing this wasn't washed away. I
That's
knew that I
true.
could do it. I knew what I was doing, and like I could go faster this time because I knew how to do it once before. So eventually, I got back to work and got out of the pity spiral, feeling sorry for myself. And I call work chop wood, carry water. So I just got back to like doing some physical therapy, vocational therapy, speech and language therapy, and just slowly build myself back up and just taking the steps and taking the steps and just grinding away. And eventually, after a few months, I made myself back to work and was there until I moved back to London or Vancouver last autumn. So it was like, don't get me wrong, that was the toughest part of my life right there, Heather. It was that setback, the depths of the human experience. Like everything was questioned and everything was like, that woes me, this isn't fair voice comes back in your head pretty strong.
That it does.
And you really got to fight it at the keep it at the bay and just keep fighting for the good fight and like just don't let yourself go down the negative spiral because if you do go down that negative spiral, I'm not sure you get pull yourself back up that easily. I never did, so I can't speak to it, but I don't know if you can because it's easy to be like, hey, this isn't fair. This isn't fair. This has happened to me. Like, this sucks. Like, you're right, it does suck. But wishing something didn't happen is not an active way to resolve it or get yourself through the situation. So it's like very important to keep your mindset pure at this stage, if that makes sense, Heather.
Right. Now, do you kind of let yourself feel the woe is me for like a little bit, like especially on just like really, really rough days where you're just kind of you're feeling all of the setbacks and stuff like that? Like, do you just kind of give yourself time to be like, this flippin' sucks? And then like the next day you're like, no, we're good. We're gonna keep it moving, that kind of thing, or do you just try to avoid that altogether?
To be honest, I try to avoid it as best I can.
Mm-hmm.
The first setback took about a month. Second setback took about a week. I lost my job last autumn from Hootsuite. Gave myself an afternoon, had some drinks, and decided I'm a motivational speaker tomorrow, which means I need a computer today. Now, I wasn't over the job loss in an afternoon, but I made the choice to get the computer that day.
Mm-hmm.
The faster you can accept something, the faster you can take steps to resolve it. Wishing something did not happen is not an active way to resolve it.
That is very true.
I've become an excellent person at streamlining my acceptance and getting to acceptance as fast as possible because acceptance is not relinquishing control or saying this is fair. Acceptance is saying this is my situation right now. What are the next steps? How can I resolve? What can I control? What's inside my control to navigate it and resolve? Like that's if you get there, like you are hacking resilience like a mofo.
That's actually really I I didn't think of it that way, and I'm very glad that you said that because I've never thought of it that way where like acceptance isn't saying this is okay. It's just like this is what we're dealing with. How do we work with it? So, I'm I'm making a note of that one for myself cuz Lord knows I need that quote stapled all over my house.
Yeah, the acceptance is not like relinquishing like well, I guess that means I'm like lesser than because of acceptance. It's like, no, it's saying this is the cards. Like, this is the cards you're dealt. Deal with the stuff now. Like, you're just saying, like, yeah, I've got a 7 and a 9. How can I play a 7 and a 9? Well, look at how I played a 7 and 9. Like, it's not saying, like, well, I don't know, but that's a 7. Like, that could be something else. Like, no, it's a 7 and a 9. How do you play the 7 and a 9 with this flush? Like, hack it to get to that point in life where you're just making that choice. And, like, it becomes a lot easier because it's black and white. It's not gray. It's not a maybe. It's like this is either a yes or a no,
Exactly.
and you can streamline and get this to faster processes if it makes sense, Heather.
No, that that makes complete sense. I've now do your podcast that you had, it's currently on a hiatus, but can you tell us what it was about and was it like a motivational podcast? Because if it was not, I'm gonna suggest that.
No, it was a motivational podcast. It was called Play Loose, Look Tight. It is called Play Loose, Look Tight.
Hmm.
What does Play Loose, Look Tight mean, Dan? Heather, great question. I thought nothing less of you if it was a podcast host for asking that question.
That was my
Play
next
loose.
question.
Play loose. joie de vivre, enjoy life. Life is about play. Alan Watts talks about play, and like I make life about play all the time. If you're playing, you can work 10 times harder for 10 times longer and not get worried about the results. Like you're just enjoying the process.
Mm-hmm.
Play loose. Conversely, you want to look tight. Be on time. Be intentional. Be well dressed. Be presentable in your grooming and manner. Like play loose, look tight is a life mantra in 4 words. Documenting the process of life after. So play loose, look tight. Documenting the process of life after. And it's each episode's got like an expression and a hack, and interviews with like someone who's been through a traumatic injury. The podcast is not well edited. The content's gold, but the editing is like myself doing this. And I'll be honest with you, Heather, that's not my area of focus or care. So I've kind of slapped this stuff together and then go. But it's the content's second to none. The podcast quality itself is not that way yet. I will look to get that back up and rolling once I get the speaking career off the ground fully. But like, it's not a priority right now because it takes a lot of bandwidth to do the podcast, and that's not something I want to deviate my time too much in because I'm not that good at multitasking.
You know, I really feel the part on editing because editing's not really my thing either, but we're doing it. We're doing the best we can. So completely understand that kind of taking a back burner, but the episodes sound great from what you're
Yeah,
from what
start
you're
with an
saying.
expression and a half. It's kind of fun. Like it's like this is a very serious subject matter, right? Like a brain injury, but like I don't take myself too seriously. I'm having fun. There's jokes. It's lighthearted. It's an expression. So the expression I used before I came home was I got to see a man about a horse,
Mm.
which is an expression for why I was leaving London. I said I'm going to see a man about a horse
Oh my gosh.
in Vancouver, and they go, "What does that mean, Dan?" I was like, "Well, it's just like a way of saying I'm leaving, but not saying the reason why."
Right.
But each one of these episodes got an expression and a hack, and the hacks are like stuff I used to like improve my law to make myself better than yesterday. But it's like it's fun and play oriented. If that makes sense.
No, that makes complete sense. I am genuinely very much looking forward to the day that you reboot that because I feel like it's
Check
something
out
that I will
episode
need.
07 and let me know what you think, Heather.
What was that?
Check out the last episode 07 and let me know what you think.
All right, we'll do. I'm writing that down. Episode 07. Got it. But yeah, no, this has been great to kind of semi close it out. What's one piece of advice that you want everybody listening to this to walk away with?
I think the key to my success has been on my mindset, and that's been steadfast through this whole process. It's like it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to that matters. I did this test last year around this time for this group called Health Tech Connect in Surrey, BC, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Like world renowned brain specialist, and like we did this test, and my results came back. They give you like this cap. They put some gel in there, and they tell you like specific things around um, your results. And my results came back as average. With the two brain injuries, that's a great result, right?
That
Like
is.
that's a phenomenal result. Like that's really good. But I was expecting there to be some outliers, some like big ups, big downs. I've recovered so well. There's got to be some outliers for this vibe, right? They came across as average, and I read this as shockingly average. Shockingly average. But that means that like I'm no smarter or better than anyone listening to this podcast. I've just chosen to go forward in a more driven and pragmatic way. I'm just driven to go, which is why it works. I'm not smarter, I'm not better, but I'm driven and focused on what I want to do. And that's why I've been successful because I've studied this plan, hook, line, and sinker, and I've throttled to the like pedal to the metal, following through my plan and making this work. And that's why I've been successful because I've focused on the plan. And that start with the mindset of it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters. And it permeates down to everything I do with my morning routine with all my vibe here is like routine based to get me going and get me grinding. But like shockingly average was what my results were. So that means I'm no better or smarter than anyone here. I've just chosen to go forward.
Chosen to go forward. I love that. I love that. So where can we find you? Like websites, obviously I know you have the one website, but where can everybody just looking for more information on you find you?
Yeah, I'd recommend we go to MacQueenDan.com, MacQueen Dan.com. There you can find my demo and contact information. That's probably the best place to go and send people to. Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, no, we'll have that linked below in the episode. Um, please excuse my dog's temper tantrum over here. But we'll have all of that linked below and yada yada yada. But I do have one more question for you. Are you
Please let
ready
it rip.
for a little bit of what we call rapid fire?
Please let me lay it on me.
All right. Just just got 5 so that they don't take forever. But hot dogs or hamburgers?
Hamburgers.
TV shows or movies?
Hmm.
I know it's a tough one.
Um. Movies.
So, speaking of movies, are you more of a horror movie or an action movie kind of guy?
I will not watch a horror movie, so action movie for sure.
Okay. that was hella easy. Do you prefer physical books or do you love a good Kindle?
Neither. I do audiobooks.
Audiobooks. I should probably put that in there as like a little outlier. But summer or winter?
I'll pick autumn.
Hey, we love fall
Tail
over
into
here.
summer, into winter. Best of both worlds.
That is true. I'm 1000% a fall girl as well. So, completely on board with that. But Daniel, thank you so much for coming on, taking the time out, talking to me, talking to my audience, and giving not only me, but I'm sure several people a few things to walk away with.
No stress, Heather. Thanks for having me on the show. It's lovely to meet you.
Yeah, it was great meeting you too.
Hey everyone, Hunter from the Everything is Connected podcast here.
Heather from Hot Mess Espresso.
And Amber from Connection Over Perfection.
You know, in this world of endless chatter, finding genuine conversations can be a challenge.
That being said, we introduce Podcast Connection Network, a space where we lay it all out unfiltered.
Dive in with us. It's about authentic connections and conversations that truly matter.
To learn more about the network and each of our podcasts, click the link in the description below. The Podcast Connection Network. Never going to give you up, never going to let you down.